Ooh, I like the leaves.
Don't you want me, baby?
These could be like, this is what we play with. We hand you off to leave.
Taking my leave.
I want you to make like a tree. Get out of here.
Now you guys know where those voices are coming from.
Oh, dang. I didn't know you were recording that.
Oh, it's on, my friend.
Yeah.
This is the first live
video
for Easy Awakenings. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Too.
You, Marquise?
We got a lot of freaking lights in front of our faces, but that's all right.
I'm
Welcome
not
to...
used to that yet.
Yeah, no, it takes it. I did his makeup, though. He looks pretty. I think he looks pretty.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, no, it's this is nice. Figure we bring you guys some video for those watching YouTube, anyways. Yeah, we wanted to enhance the experience a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and no way better to do that than to show you our pure pretty faces. That's what's going on here.
Yeah, we want you to see how it is when we're just kind of like jazzed up and, our feeling behind what we're actually talking about. Because we really believe in what we're trying to bring out into the world.
Yeah.
And, we want you to feel it too. And we hope this information will be really useful to you in the real world. Because we really wanted to bring real world feeling and a teaching and something that goes beyond just sit and close your eyes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is something like we say,
which is important too.
Relatability. We want you guys to relate to what we do.
Yeah.
And just see that we're just two normal guys. So.
Yep. Yeah, we get stuck too.
We do.
Right?
We do. Oh yeah. It's a common thing. I mean, like from the beginning, we mentioned that there are people out there. You have your Eckhart Tolles who seem to hit these spots where they're free from their internal problems, and we hit those spots too. Yeah. The difference is we have relapses. It's just like everybody else on this planet. We go back to a point of where our issues come in, our egos might take over for a bit of time, but we do know how to recover under some very stressful situations, and that's what we're here for, is to help you guys get some little niblets of enlightenment throughout the day. So
yeah, and we're not saying like our brand of suffering is any different than yours. It's really all subjective, right? It's relative, and everyone's just going through something, and even the littlest thing can make the biggest difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just in a change of perception, just like that, changes your inner energy, and it really just sets you on a different path.
It does. I had a step out moment the other day.
Yeah.
I love some video games. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a game called Rocket League. It's a very competitive, very competitive game, and I was just getting into it and getting frustrated because I wasn't winning, and then you back out of it. And this is applicable to anything that you're doing. When you're getting sucked into it, take those steps back when you're at a place, when you can feel yourself getting to a place you don't want to be in. When it's uncomfortable, that tension's rising, you get that really edgy feeling creeping up. Take a step back and understand that at that point your ego has taken over, and all you got to do is just use any one of the methods that you have either learned from us or from someone else to back away and recollect, get back into you. Or even better, an analogy, shed all of that stuff off. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Which brings us to today's topic. Now, we wrote episode 5, but I think it's actually 6.
Yeah.
Because the interview with Adam was 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I hope you like that. We wanted to do a video of that one.
Yeah.
But just kind of circumstances just didn't end up working out.
Yeah, we're testing a lot of stuff.
It was a good interview, though. Check it out.
It was. Adam's a really cool dude, and he's got a lot of great stuff to talk about.
Yeah, a lot of energy.
Yeah. He likes talking about that guy on the road.
Yeah.
The brakes. The brakes.
That was for you, Adam.
Yeah, we hope to have him on back here. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Be cool to get him on some video.
Yeah, and we want to do some on-site interviews with
Yeah.
people.
Yep,
So
yep, yep, yep.
if that's something you want to do out there, please contact us.
That'd be
and
awesome, yeah.
Maybe we could talk, and maybe
Yeah,
we
yeah.
could set something
Yeah.
up. Could be something that you may be doing locally in the community
Yep,
that
yep.
you're really proud of, and is kind of awakening people,
Oh, yeah.
right,
Oh,
out
yeah.
of their suffering,
That'd be awesome.
even if it's just for a little while.
Yeah. It could be anything from spiritual gurus, religious leaders of any faith. It could be just people who are part of outreach programs, anything like you were saying.
Yeah.
This is all good stuff.
Yeah, just making a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not only making a difference, but it makes you feel so good when you do it.
Yep.
Because, we want to do things for people, right? And that does, like that in itself is a noble thing. But when you feel it from within, right, it has more power, right?
Yeah.
It has more transformative power.
It's
right?
game-changing stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
it is. Yeah.
But today's topic is breaking points.
Yeah.
Now,
What do you
what's
mean
this
breaking point?
Breaking point. Let's go into it. So I'll tell you guys about it. What inspired me for this episode. We've had a lot of shootings lately, and everyone can see this on the news. And I mean, the world just seems like a crazy place.
Yeah, it seems very dark.
Very dark. It could seem scary. It might conjure up feelings like, the end is coming, or things are crazier than they were back in the day, or whatever the case may be in your train of thought. But I think it's good to talk about. There are some crazy things happening, but it's an opportunity, to be honest with you. I think it's an opportunity to find the spiritual awakening within the madness.
Sometimes anything that throws you off balance can really be a blessing.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's something that tells you kind of where you're at. And it could be, like you said, it could be an opportunity for, some sort of a little bit of an awakening.
Yeah. Looks better right there. Right there.
Yeah, on the leaf.
But yeah, let's get into it. My phone will work. All right. So, what happens when people are too wound up? As we can see, and like I said, this came out of, and not just the crazy things that have been happening with shootings and other things, and we don't want to get too much into that because a lot of conspiracy theories might pop up, and we're not here to talk about that sort of thing.
No.
But there is a reason why people snap, and of course, you have people that are just straight up crazy, and people who have mental diseases. It's easier for them to sort of pop than others. But I think everyone kind of hits a point when they get too wound up and they sort of snap. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way that we live. And that goes into, and I'm not just talking about vices. In fact, I'm talking more about the regular day-to-day things. I think the day-to-day modes of living can be attributed to the madness more so than people's vices. Vices are more of an outlet than they are, bringing you to that winding spot. Like, people don't do drugs because they're crazy. People do drugs or drink too much because they're trying to, alleviate themselves of, of all these issues. So,
yeah, for me, it's been food all my life, right? So, even to this day, it's not as powerful as it used to be, but it's one of those things you learn.
Oh yeah.
Unhealthy coping mechanism.
Habits are, habits tend to stay with you for all of life.
Those things don't mean like you're a bad person.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And it doesn't mean as well that there is a point where you can get to where they no longer control you. You still may act them out every now and again. There's nothing wrong with indulging in any particular habit. Just make sure, life is a balance. Make sure you know where that balance is falling off on one end, and how to bring it back to a stable spot.
Yeah.
So, and this is something, I guess the greater question we should ask ourselves now is, what happens when everyone is sort of pushed to their limits and they can't take anymore? When you're forced to work crazy hours, when you're in relationships that you can't communicate your side of the story on, when you feel like you just have nowhere else to turn in a world that's constantly putting you in corners, what happens when people are pushed to these limits?
Yeah.
I think it's like a spring. We pop. And if we don't have this sort of innate knowledge,
So you were talking about the spring thing, and then just that energy has to go somewhere, doesn't it?
it does. It does.
Right?
It has to.
Yeah.
It has to. And I mean, physically, it has to. Mentally, it has to.
Yeah.
And so that leads us to the place of what are our outlets. So, and this is great for kids. You know,
Yeah.
I think we're seeing now. You know, lately you've seen a lot of school shootings out there.
Yeah, and the best thing you could do for your kids is do it for yourself.
Exactly.
You
Yep,
know,
yep, yep.
and they're actually the beneficiary of that energy.
Yeah.
So you're bringing that energy from a very deep place within yourself, and you're actually sharing it with your kids.
Yep.
Because I know when, like when we met, right, we were part of a group, we would come together and we would meditate together, and you'd feel really good afterwards, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you bring that sort of energy to your children, and you're present with them.
Yeah.
And that can be very vital to a child's upbringing.
Oh yeah, those early steps are what sets the tone for a person's habits and thought process.
Yeah.
Those early ages, not only binding synapses in the brain, but what all this does is it forms your responses for later stages in life.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of learning to react this way or this way, you learn to take a step back and observe before responding or reacting irrationally or with just raw anger.
Yeah, and you could see your ego when somebody, like whether it's your child or your spouse or your friend, and when you see someone else's ego, you're essentially seeing your own ego act out.
Yeah.
So if you can have compassion at those times, you can then start to have compassion for yourself when you start to react in those ways as well.
Oh yeah, and this is something I wanted to say too. You were talking about the benefit of, or the most beneficial thing to do for your children is to be sort of awake yourself. Think of it like when you're on an airplane, right? So if any of you have ever flown before, initially they tell you if you have children, make sure you are putting on your safety mask first in the event of an emergency.
Yeah.
Instead of putting theirs on first. And there's a very good reason for this, and it's because you are the leader. You need to be able to show people the right thing to do, and you have to be stable yourself to help others become stable.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just start freaking out.
Exactly.
Because that situation will take over, and
Yeah.
it'll just be a wall between you and actually the right thing to do.
Yep. And so it's very important to make sure that you are stable within if you really want to spread a good message to your children. And this is something that goes into relationships. Where is it better to stay in an abusive relationship for your children, simply so that they have two parents in the home, or is it better to separate and to parent from two separate ends? And I would say the answer to that is, where's the most stability?
It is not a simple answer, right?
It's not, exactly.
It can be complicated.
It can, and it's
Yeah.
based on per situation, but
complications need simplicity sometimes.
they do, and
Anywhere you can introduce it.
it takes getting to a place of a stable and I would say enlightened mind to make enlightened answers. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't, your level of consciousness, right? You can't go to the level of consciousness that brought out the problem.
Exactly.
Right? You kind of have to rise above it in some way.
Yeah.
Even if it's just changing the way you look at it.
Yeah. So let's get into a couple of
Yeah.
beliefs, and so this is part of our illusion section of this. So there are a lot of common beliefs out there that the world is ready to end. And again, we can understand why some people might have this belief that things are getting so horrible, it's the end of days, or
Yeah, you may have learned even at the beginning of your life or earlier on in your life that is actually inevitable.
that
It will happen. And the thing is it really happening right now?
Exactly.
Right.
And if
So,
you think it is, why do you think it really is? What makes you think this is really the end? I mean, we've sort of approached this point where things have gotten bad before. in many periods throughout human history. I think it's very important for us to remember that as bad as things get, there's a solution out there for it. You know, sometimes it's just about riding the wave. Sometimes it's about finding the solution to it.
Yeah.
You know, which I guess riding the wave could be a solution.
Yeah, it could be help. You just
exactly.
You know, maybe you're coming to a point where you're kind of melting down a little bit, and you know, we'll talk about this more in depth, where having some sort of a support system.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just somebody you're related to, right? It could be just a friend at work, right?
Yeah.
Or one of your friends that you grew up with. Because sometimes they know you really well, and having that sort of outside looking in can actually calm you down a little bit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, they could give you that that kind of the slap in a way.
So yeah, sometimes it's almost like self-reflection. Like you know, this is a place they might be giving you information that you might normally give to other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's giving you that point to flip you around and to show you that you are a little captured in fear, and paranoia, that sort of thing.
Yeah, how many times have you given advice to somebody and then you forget about it yourself?
Oh yeah, I mean, plenty of time, you know.
You know, because you know, my girlfriend and I we'll have those conversations, you know, I'll just go, well, what did I say? You know, and what she'll ask me, and then she'll say the same thing to me.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm in those difficult times, and then actually that kind of like jars me a little bit and actually makes me laugh.
Yeah,
and that means you're just, you know, you're making the situation lighter just by laughing. Laughing out loud, actually.
Yeah. That'll be an LOL is always is always good.
I knew it.
But
if I wasn't gonna say that, he was. So.
That's good stuff for a relationship. We just do that. I think confidence or relationships will do that. We'll figure that one out. But no, that's very important stuff. You know, as much of a, you know, as a teacher as I tend to be in my own life with other people, one of the best lessons that I can have is my own lesson coming from someone else to me when I've sort of gotten wrapped up in my own shit. You know, when I've gotten too into the situation or whatever. Having those turnaround, you know.
Yeah, and don't wait for somebody to jump in there.
Yeah.
And take it from me, just ask for the help.
Yeah.
You know, I know we all have we have our pride, we have our egos, and we want to handle it ourselves sometimes. Or sometimes it's we just don't want to bother anybody. And we figure we could do it. But sometimes you just gotta call that person up, whoever it is, and just say, maybe just unload whatever it is. So if you could find somebody that's a good listener. And sometimes you need to just externalize it in some way. And that could be really, really helpful.
But I guess one of the things we also want to keep mindful, especially on this topic of breaking point, and with the world getting mad and us getting too wrapped up in the, you know, the information about it, we want to be careful that we're not, you know, if you're talking to someone who's real gossipy, and they're talking about it, did you see the news? Did you see what Trump is doing, or what Putin did, or what Duarte, whatever the hell guy's name is? You know, if you're hearing about all the craziness on the news all the time, and there's some nutty stuff out there. We're not saying that someone's opinion on the matter is invalid because of this, but you know, if a constant influx of negative information will make your day negative, plain and simple.
Yep.
You
don't have to go around like everything's okay, everything is okay, everything's wonderful.
But find a way to find the peace. Find a way to be at peace. That is the ultimate goal. Being at peace doesn't mean you don't care about a situation. Here's a funny thing. So, one of my former jobs, the boss at the job used to tell me that he would stop me when I first got there and said, you know, you smile too much. And I didn't know what the hell he was talking. I'm like, what do you mean I smile too much? I'm a happy guy. I like being happy. But he said when I smile like that, he thinks I'm not worried and that I don't care. And I was blown away by that.
I've noticed that too. Like some managers that I've had, they're actually, I don't want to say happy, but they do want to see you're like remorseful or something. You know what I mean?
Lots bosses.
Oh,
What?
but yeah, just bosses like seeing that. At least some of them, not all of them.
Yeah.
You know, because you know, in my experience too, bosses like to see that you're calm when the shit hits the fan too, right?
So some good
But
bosses, yes.
yeah, good bosses too.
Yes.
As long as the job gets done. But
Yeah.
yeah, they like to see that. I don't know, like you're hurt about it, or you're like,
Yeah.
damn,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did this or I did that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I did find that, but like you said, it doesn't mean that you don't care
Oh,
because
yeah.
you're smiling.
Oh yeah.
You know,
It just
you're taking something in a light way.
you're actually finding a coping mechanism to break out of that negative situation so that you can find a solution to the problem. It's part of the problem solving skill. But I mean that just goes back into the chaotic nature of the way that we live. I think it's a testament to how much madness is out in the world, because a lot of institutions, a lot of jobs, a lot of companies and organizations thrive on that kind of madness. And the world, it's the chaos in the world is a reflection of the inner chaos that we have. I think that as much as people like to look at like political leaders and from all different spectrums, and we talk about them like oh, they're screwing up this and they're doing this to us. We're part of that spectrum. We are very much a part of that, and we're creating that tension ourselves. There are more of us than there are of them, right?
Yeah,
For
yeah.
people who are not in that position. We're all human at the end of the day. We all sleep, wake up, have thoughts in our brains, and
Right.
and it's up to the individual to find the solution to their sort of chaos.
Yeah, we can't keep waiting for somebody else to make the change. I mean,
Exactly.
we really have to do it for ourselves. And I like Krishnamurti. You know, one time it was like one of the most inspirational videos I've ever seen. But you could just see the power behind what he was saying. But it came from a deep place, and he would just say, "You have to be a light to yourself."
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, you're doing the work. You're putting the work in. You know, so you put the practice in, and then the more you practice and the more you share with other people.
Oh yeah, very very true, very true. And that's the more important thing, anyways. And that makes you more powerful. I mean, what makes you a more powerful being? Complaining about other people and why they haven't created a better world, or you taking responsibility for your own space, inner and outer, and making sure you're doing the best you can with what you have. Making sure you're cleaning up your own internal mess so that you can then create a better external world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we talk about the world, right? And you could watch the news and think it's falling apart, but I mean, is it really? So
Exactly.
one of the ways that you could answer that question for you is to look into your immediate environment. Okay, look around your house. Are things falling apart in your house?
Yeah.
Okay. If they are there at your house, that's where you start.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where you start. Or if it's you inside of you and you live by yourself,
Yeah.
that's where you start. This is your world.
Yeah.
This is your world.
Yeah.
And then when you take care of that, you look around, you live with other people, and then it's other people. But still, it has to come from there,
Yeah.
and it has to go inside out.
Yeah.
That's where you're most calm.
And
And then just go from there. Go to the next step,
Sure.
right?
Make sure, and then even then, go even further. Is
Yeah.
your head a mess?
Yeah, exactly.
Is your head
That's,
a mess?
yeah, that's what I was saying. The number one is right here.
Yeah,
you,
exactly.
right? That's your
Exactly.
immediate environment.
Yep,
Is you
yep,
in your
yep.
head. Yeah.
Are there a lot of conflicts with a lot of different people? And then there will be conflicts with people. You can't always avoid that. But are there just a lot of conflicts with everybody you come into contact with? That's a good indicator that what Victor's talking about, that mess inside, you need some cleaning up to do. And it's not something to be judgmental against yourself about.
Yeah.
It's just something that sometimes people hit that point where you've gotten wrapped up, you're in a stressful environment. Everyone's been there. When I'm wrapped up, people are coming at me left and right under a ton of pressure. I can be a dick. It's possible. Everyone has that. Everyone has that possibility. But no, I mean it's just that's the nature of living. That's how life is. And then again, it's our responsibility to pay attention to how we are and what it is that we're spreading, and to make changes where changes need to be made.
Yeah. I mean, Go down to your car. That moment in time is great, right? I mean, most of us, besides what's going on in your own head, you can go to your car and open the car, sit in your car, and then drive work. Some people, of course, have a more difficult thing. They don't have a car, right? Or they don't have somewhere to go or whatever. But most of us can go to their job relatively easily, right? Yeah, and in a calm way. So you can choose that moment to be calm and bring peace into that moment, and actually really tell yourself in that moment that the apocalypse isn't happening.
Exactly. It's not happening now.
It's not.
Don't worry about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a thing about being present. It's your immediate area you have to deal with first. You got to clean that up first.
Yeah. And I think this kind of ties into, when we're taking a look at the people around us giving us information, like news sources.
Yeah, where are you getting your information from, right?
I think growing up, everyone sort of has, you grow up with these notions that these people have the answers, that there's a sort of, sometimes pure innocence, sometimes that, sometimes not, because some people, don't have this sort of pure innocent thing, but then when we find out that sometimes they've been lying to us about things, we're like, wow, it sort of shatters our world a little bit. Yeah. Like the people who were in charge of things, they're if not more corrupt, they're just as corrupt as we are. They're just as fallible and human and wrong sometimes. Yeah. I think
anybody can be tempted.
Oh yeah, I think it's really important for everyone to know that as humans, we're figuring it out. We're still figuring these things out. No one's got all the answers. No one does. The best that we can do, is to go within and try to live the most enlightened life that you can. That's the purpose of life is to live. Yeah. We kind of discussed that with Adam a bit. The purpose of life is to live life. So, sure, you may feel called to go out and to start this or become that and to do that. Well, and that's great. Do it. Explore the hell out of every option that you can with life. But most important, make sure you're enlightening yourself internally, becoming, the most you that you can be.
Yeah, be responsible for your internal situation, whatever it is. Don't give your power away. Yeah. Right? Because when we just count on the news source or those Facebook posts or Instagram or wherever you're hanging out. Exactly. We give our power away, and that's when we're most disappointed, and then we want to blame other people for it.
Yeah. And I was thinking of this, I was talking to my cousin the other day. When we do this, exactly what you're talking about, we're sort of following in the wake of other people's lives, trying to live a life that they think we should. Yeah. And what that's like, you are in a tiny little sailboat following behind these massive, shipping freights. And you're following in their wake. Well, what happens when you try to follow in someone's wake? Oh, yeah. Their waves are throwing you off. Don't do that. Sail your own ship, your own direction. If you feel like you should go in that direction, if you know your path is leading you on that direction, you go in that direction. But don't do it because you see someone else is successful at it. Do it because you feel and know that is your path to go on.
Be the wind beneath your wings.
Imagine sleeping next to this every night. This would just make you fall asleep.
Yeah, you'd be up because I'd be snoring.
This is my new Alexa. I'm gonna have him come by. Sorry, Alexa. I have an Alexa. Sorry. I love Alexa. I love you. She didn't hear me. She didn't sell me back. My life. What does it mean? Alexa doesn't love me. But yeah. So let's go on. What are some common notions about the world and what they're doing that might lead to some of the sort of internal chaos that we have?
Yeah, people have ulterior motives. Yeah. Right? They're out to get you. They're out to take advantage of you. Yeah. But then again, that leads to what? Giving your power away.
Exactly. After the break, thanks for coming back, guys. What were we talking about? Let's just move on.
Yeah, next slide.
All right.
Still, we're in the illusion.
The illusion segment of this. So we're going
Yeah.
to the illusion and the reality. So here's an.
So what's the illusion? Illusion is our thought, could be our thought about something. Mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm. And again, the purpose of bringing out the illusion aspect is to show these illusions can bring you to that breaking point. Because if your mind's just constantly thinking about these illusions, it will bring you to a place that makes you a place that makes you want to that makes you snap because you think there's no way out. And one of those illusions is you must buy in to find your solace. And I guess what that means, I think maybe did I bring that one up?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Is that
You are the author.
I am of this particular one. And this came to me. There was always this statistic that that happiness is found at about $77,000 per year.
Yeah.
That is the most asinine study I've ever heard in my lifetime. Like, what?
Yeah, I had never heard of that actually until Marquise brought it up.
I was having.
And in fact, didn't you say? I don't know. I thought you had brought up about that. Did he mention that or no?
We were having a conversation. I wasn't going to mention it.
Gotcha. Sorry.
It's all right. So we'll bleep you out.
Yeah.
I just said his name again, but it's great.
Want
But
to start over?
nah, we'll just fuzz it out.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be all right. But that's how comfortable we are. Well, yeah, $77,000 per year.
Yeah, I had never heard that until you brought it up. Actually,
That is the most ridiculous notion. That's where happiness. Because so if you make 80,000, you're all set.
Oh man, you're bouncing off the walls.
You're
at
happy.
that point.
Happiness has
And you
come
might
to you.
be. Who knows? I mean,
It's just now. That's not to say you won't have less stress financially at $77,000 or 80 or whatever the hell. Sure, you are more secure with your life in terms of financial issues.
yeah, you have in that regard, you have less to worry about.
In that
But,
little section,
yeah.
sure.
But in the other regard, though, you have more to be responsible for.
Exactly.
So that could actually be more to worry about.
$77,000 doesn't fix your relationship with your kids, with the people that you work with,
No.
with your lover.
You can't just throw money at problems.
No, not at all. And it doesn't solve your thinking problems either.
No.
And I've made a wide range of cash that surpasses $77,000 per year, and I've lived on $1 per day.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest with you, some of my happiest days have been when I had no money in my pocket.
Yeah.
I wasn't always sure about what I was going to eat the next day, but I didn't have anything to worry about. I was totally free and just walking around. So
I remember we were hanging out.
I know,
man. So, and you were quite happy.
Oh, I mean, it's just, and I don't promote anyone to aspire themselves to just get rid of all your money and worldly possessions or whatever. I love stuff.
You got to pick your own way, right?
You do.
Yeah.
And then getting rid of things isn't a guaranteed form of happiness either.
But saying that it's happy for you and it will be happy for me, of course, that's the mistake.
Well, I don't think either form has anything to do with your happiness. Having money versus being poor does not create or get rid of your unhappiness. The illusion. In fact, the illusion that once you achieve this certain goal or get this certain thing in your life will bring you happiness will almost certainly provide much unhappiness in your life. So it might take some time after you've gotten your goal, after you've achieved your goal. You might be ecstatic. Oh, I won $1 million. Do some simple research on people that have won the lottery to just find out how many of these people have a lot of problems after they are suddenly accosted with all of this wealth.
Yeah, why do you think so many want to be anonymous after they won
Exactly.
the money? And then the people that gave away the money don't want you to be anonymous.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? Because they still want to spread that notion of happiness.
Oh yeah.
Because this person won so much money. And yeah, you could do a lot with that money, right? You could help
Sure.
other people. You can help your family. And in that way, that's actually the best way, I think, to use that money is to kind of spread that out and
Sure.
help other people.
Oh yeah, that'd be kind of a cool topic. What would you do with $10 million and
Yeah.
the enlightenment? Who knows? All kinds of options. But yeah, no. I mean, there's we were talking about. I think you brought this one up. Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
It's only after a certain needs are met that one can begin to journey upon their inward journey. And and there are different interpretations of what Maslow meant exactly by this, but I think a lot of people do live their life like that, where they feel like before they can start paying attention to their spiritual needs, they have to make sure their financial and physical needs are met first.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily true.
No.
As we were just talking about.
It's not true at all.
Yeah, and what I'm telling you, I mean, even just in recent times, when I started making more money, that actually I started becoming less happy. Then when I work less, which meant less money in a way, I actually started to become more happy and felt more free to do something like this with an awesome person right here. So, and how long? That's him. Keys. Lord Keys. Marcus. Marquise. I've heard that.
I'll take Marquise.
Yeah.
Not Marcus. Marquise is confused. Marcus is just freaking lazy. Come on, it's Marquise.
Yeah.
Or if you're French, Marquis. Something like that. That's doable. I'll take those.
But yeah, Maslow's hierarchy. I remember one of the first times where it actually really hit me in my brain, and then just sort of kind of was allowed to let it ruminate. Is when I took a psychology class in college when I went back to college, before I went into culinary school.
Yeah.
When I saw that, it just kind of blew me away.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many people really in this world can attain all those things, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Have a roof over your head and have enough money where you feel comfortable enough to start to take a spiritual path, or or a contemplative path, or philosophical path, or whatever.
The greater question, all this is, how long do you have to wait before you're ready to start?
Yeah.
So that means on days where you've discovered that you don't have the money in the bank, you can't be spiritual. That's ridiculous. So in fact, that should be starting point number one.
I laugh at that. Ha!
In his hearty laugh. All right, I'm gonna buy a new one of these. So another illusion would be you must protect yourself from all immediate danger approaching from right outside your door. We've kind of already talked about that.
Yeah, we
I
did.
think.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's a lot of the fear. That's where paranoia and stuff comes out. Fear is probably the biggest issue, or the biggest feeder to your ego that will come about.
Yeah, and that's your when you get stuck in that, you're actually projecting yourself into the future, which means you're not living right now.
Yeah.
Because often, most of the time, if you really look into it, you're actually worried about something that may happen, but most likely will never happen in your lifetime.
And where are these voices coming from? I mean, there are people out there, of course, who say, who give different stories and they talk about different things, but ultimately their voices repeating themselves in your head is your voice.
Yeah.
So taking other people on, that's what we're talking about with the sailboat behind the big freight ship.
Yeah. When I sang that really...
Right before the
amazing
beautiful
melody.
singing. I mean, during the break, I was, just wooed by it. But yeah, make sure you're not living behind someone else's waves. Make sure you are living your life.
Yeah.
Man.
Taking responsibility.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
If you want to smile.
Yeah.
Even if your boss tells you don't smile. So smile your ass off. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, because I tend to smile a lot too, like you do. I mean, you know that. And
he's a happy guy.
sometimes I get weird looks by it. People have gotten angry at me because of it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. He said his...
It's a long story. Oh, shit. I said his name. There was a Murgay. That's the guy. Murgay.
But I mean, people at work.
Yeah.
They've come to think it's arrogant or something, or I'm being arrogant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
A lot of people
but,
can confuse inner confidence and sort of that habit, it's that inner security with who you are and where you are in life as an arrogance.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people feel very confused about how they are and what they do.
I mean, I find it like to be inner joy, and when I see certain people that have pleasant experiences with,
Yeah.
I smile even if they're not in a great mood.
I was getting off the elevator the other day, and me and my buddy were just joking around, and had a really big smile on my face. But he said a little too much bravado in that one there.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just having a good time getting off the elevator, homie. But okay, all right.
Were you going to work or leaving?
We were taking a break.
Okay, so leaving.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really interesting. This was, but people do that. There are people that I think they feel threatened and insecure when you feel that security with yourself, and some people, in order to make themselves feel better, will try to tear you down to say, "See, you feel just as bad as I do."
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of that out there.
They take some.
Yeah.
They feel good when you're down, but I mean, they have their own thing to deal with.
Sure.
Because
Yep.
if it wasn't there, I mean, they wouldn't have such a reaction.
Yeah. No, that's true. We good on this one?
Yeah.
All right. So the reality. Now we're into the reality section of this. People feel like a wet towel being drained of its last drip. That's sort of the spark of this whole thing. Is that we feel like we're, for every ounce of your life, people are just trying to squeeze the last ounce out of you. And a lot of places and a lot of people will do this.
And some people are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Unconsciously. Mm-hmm. But kind of like that wanting energy, right? When you get that energy, to me, I tend to recoil sometimes from people who are wanting too much from me.
Sure.
Even though it's coming from, a place of really they need something, but it comes from somewhere. I want to say, could be like complaining. It could come from a dark place.
You're lucky if it's complaining. I have a friend of mine. We will not mention names. We've been making that mistake this whole podcast.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This particular person and he's got a lot of issues, but when he comes around, he'll start asking. First, it starts with, let's talk about my problems. And then those problems will repeat themselves into the same questions about those problems.
Yeah.
That will turn into, do me a favor. That will turn into, do me another favor, and then a bigger favor, and then there's just this massive cycle, and then all the while the problems never go away. It's always this looping of negativity, and you can just feel yourself being weighed down by it.
Yeah, that sucks you dry, which comes to that, that analogy.
And it's an unconscious thing. This isn't something that this person or these people do consciously. Most people are very unconscious of the behavior, and they're just living out. They don't know. It's like they're drowning, and when people are drowning, they'll claw out to find the nearest thing to pull themselves out, even if that drags you down with them.
Yeah,
you're
that stable rock.
Exactly, they're inundated, and they'll just claw and pull at you.
They depend on that.
Yeah,
depend on that, and you're a good soul, and you want to be there. But like you said at the very beginning, if you don't put that mask on first, you really can't help other people.
Exactly.
And also, if people aren't at a place where they want
airplane mask, not the illusion.
The airplane mask from the beginning of the podcast. But if they will grab onto you, and you'll both drown, or or not get that vital oxygen.
Yep.
And sometimes you have to create some distance between you and those people.
Sometimes you have to let people go through their suffering.
Yeah.
I think this is something that that a lot of people have a hard time with, especially when it comes to kids.
Yeah.
Being a dad myself, a lot of people, they want the best for their children. Of course, every parent wants the best for their child. But if a child does not go through his or her own suffering, they won't learn to deal with suffering. You'll actually make them more susceptible to pain and suffering. They have to, you know what I mean? And you don't have to be a parent to know this about children. Everyone has been a child themselves. We have all been through that experience. So you do have a take in this. When you see a kid, of course, provide assistance if they're in immediate danger, but children need to learn how to take care of themselves. They need to learn how, especially emotionally. This is the one thing you, funny enough, don't learn about in school. How to deal with yourself, the importance of introspection and enlightenment, and how to create a strong mind. You're taught how important it is to go get stuff.
Yeah.
How important it is to go out and make a name for yourself in the world and get a lot of money so that you don't retire poor. And it's got its own place, but you sure as hell don't learn how to deal with your emotions. And that's the most vital thing you'll ever go through in your lifetime.
Yeah, and one of the
it's gonna some minds snap easier than others. This is true. So we were talking about that when we first started. Yeah, there are some people that are just more susceptible to these breaking points than others. However, it's important to remember that all enlightenment is the same. We may not all reach that point on the same path, but enlightenment itself is the same. Happiness is happiness.
Yeah.
Your happiness is not different from my happiness.
Yeah.
You may derive happiness from different sources than I do, but happiness is happiness.
Yeah, and you'll even discover that you'll go deeper and feel something that's even more fulfilling than happiness.
Yeah, that's true. Where are you responsible for this? Okay, so I guess that's what this means is where are your responsibilities in terms of this, these dilemmas?
Yeah, sometimes you find that you've kind of walked into a certain role in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You reach a certain point, like you were saying about, somebody that how they just want to grab at you and hold on to you because maybe they're falling, right, or drowning, or whatever analogy you want to use.
No. And I think...
So, go ahead.
Well, were you done?
I was just saying, are you cleaning up the mess?
Exactly.
Or are you making the mess?
Exactly. A lot of people don't know, and it's not... This isn't a thing for anyone to say, oh, hey, you're not taking responsibility for yourself as like a point of judgment. It's an issue of remembering that this is a dilemma we all face in this life. So if someone's not taking responsibility for their personal enlightenment, it isn't a point for any one of us to judge someone else. It's a point for us to remember, I don't want to be like that. Let me remind myself, and in any way that I can, assist that person in waking up, but then making sure you are, stable and still on your path. Finding your path, that's another good podcast. Finding your path is so important. It's something you got to feel. You have to go inside to feel it and to know where that is. And staying on that path is so crucial to your life. It's huge.
Yeah, and if you don't forget sometimes, then you'll see how it is to actually remember.
Yeah.
And those are the things that actually wake you up even more. Right? So it's that
what do you mean?
It's that process of going back, like forgetting and remembering, and remembering, it's the bad times make you realize how really good the good times are.
Yeah. Right.
So I grew up what I learned growing up is that when something bad happens, your reaction has to be dramatic and it has to be on par with what is happening.
Oh, okay.
Flipping out in some way.
Sure.
You've seen that.
Yeah.
Right? You've seen that from me. Right?
Sports games.
Yeah.
This guy stays pretty calm.
Which I actually
Sports
rarely
game.
watch sports anymore. But yeah. But yeah, that it's like, I don't know, I had some belief where if I didn't react in some way dramatic, it didn't mean something. It didn't mean as much or something like that.
Sure.
Or it could have been in some sort of expression where I wanted to right now. But,
expression and get it out. You get it out.
Expression, yeah.
I get you.
Yeah, just to get it out and kind of like to show another person that that's how much you care.
No, I think that's a, that's a common way. That's a huge ego thing for a lot of people. I've seen it in myself at times where, where you're livid about something, you're lit up. I mean, that's that common thing, right? Like you want to let someone know how you feel, and how do you do that? You cut into them like, you son of a blah, 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 blah. And that's it. You add that extra drama force onto it.
Yeah.
To characterize, to let them know, and it's boiling in your head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like an expression of power sometimes.
It is, and I think that's where a lot of these, like these, when these people kind of go to these shooting sprees or whatever. I think it's that's part of the theatrics of it is huge for them. When you think about it, if you wanted to solve your own issues, if you were really interested in solving the internal problems that you had, it wouldn't involve other people.
No. Right?
Unless they were, of course, you needed to communicate with them about it, whatever. But going in and just blowing away 1,000 people, that's you're making it's a very dramatic statement, and it's that head game. People get into their heads, and it's just all of these different voices are moving on and about. And it doesn't take a crazy person to have a bunch of voices. You have a voice in your head. You probably have 1,000 voices in your head throughout the course of a day. We're not that different from crazy people. We need to understand our connection to everyone in this world who are going through almost every situation. If we really want to solve and get to the root of these problems that we're facing, in daily life, and even if it's far away, you need to understand your connection to that person, and that more likely than not, you have been to a breaking point of your own, and there probably were just a few steps between you, where you are, and where they were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you just decided to go a different way.
Exactly. And if we could stop, we need to take away from the judgment so much. It's like, who do we blame? Who's responsible? All of these things. It's this instant. It's almost like everyone's taking the responsibility and going, it's yours.
Yeah.
Take it. I don't want to deal with it. We all need to face it. We all need to deal with it. We don't need to judge ourselves for it. It's not about, let's go find the parents of this person or the people that knew about this. I mean, there's a time and place for that, sure, but more importantly, let's understand why it's happening. Let's find out ways to alleviate this social tension that's just boiling underneath the surface, and it is, and it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, and that's power.
It is, yeah.
That's power, and the other thing is weakness.
Exactly. So,
let's...
The fixins.
So the fixins.
How do we fix the mess we started?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, so, we were talking about staying true to yourself and what that means. And we hear it so much. Stay true to yourself. Be yourself and all that stuff. For me, I would say it's when your dwelling place becomes more of that, your inner self. That becomes your dwelling place. That's kind of how you perceive the world, and for me that is staying true to yourself.
Yeah. Don't immediately go looking for answers outside of yourself. It's huge. Again, it's so easy to go to these trusted sources for the answers, because when we feel lost and confused, we want some sort of solace. We want to make sure. Do I have popcorn in my mouth? I can feel it everywhere. We want to make sure that we all want to feel secure and safe, but find that inner security first. Become okay. At least become stable in your environment and where you are. That's huge.
Yeah, sometimes we know the answer, but the circumstance changes. So we just automatically assume that it requires some sort of a different answer.
Yeah.
That's why so many people go to different sources, or they follow one teacher and go, oh, well, they didn't have the answers. And then they go to the next teacher, then the next teacher.
Yep.
And then really what actually they get addicted to is actually going to these teachers.
Yeah.
And looking And who knows, maybe avoiding certain things,
Well,
giving power, or some people want some sort of an affirmation from another person. Like, I want you to tell me that I'm okay, instead of me just feeling okay.
I think it also has a lot to do with, and this is something that relates to like dating, right? The want factor, and it relates to a lot of things, not just dating, but you'll always want something, and the ego thrives on desire. It gets juiced up, it feels excited about it. And I was having a conversation the other day, and I was talking to someone about, they were like, well, why is it, especially with a lot of men, you'll be chasing after someone, and you think you love them, and you think you like them so much, and until that moment when you've had sex, and then all of a sudden all that desire is gone, and you're left with, I don't know if I'm feeling this one out so much. I'll never talk to you again. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
And
the thrill of the chase is gone.
exactly. And it's not just with that, but that's a great example because that lets you know that it was just about the chase. It was just about getting, obtaining this thing. Once you got this thing, you'll only want something until you get it. So if you're craving, if your love or your attachment to this particular object or situation is based on that, this pertains to the spiritual teaching as well, to obtaining something. Once you've discovered the reality of this teacher and you've encountered the teacher and you've soaked up all that's in there, you're not obtaining the answers. You're not in search of the answers anymore. And so you don't have that drive. So what happened? What keeps you going? You go find a new teacher.
Yeah.
Well, they're not providing anything enough. Easy Awakenings isn't providing.
Or a new
I've
girlfriend.
seen there, or a new girlfriend,
Boyfriend.
or a new job, or a new car, or a new fill in the blank. That desire. And again, Eckhart Tolle said this: the ego wants to want more than it wants to have.
Yeah.
Because once you have, you're free of desire. And your mind loves desire. It makes you salivate. It gives you flowing juices of addiction. Like,
Yeah, I see it every year. I see buy a present for kids. Kids, they open it, and then they open the next present, and that's the next best thing. And it follows us into adulthood. Because unfortunately, a lot of us don't grow out of any sort of high emotional maturity.
Yeah.
Or an age of an emotional maturity, I should say.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, and how many of us buy just for the sake of buying?
Oh yeah.
Do you use what you buy? Do you need what you buy?
Yeah.
Right.
It's easy.
It's so easy.
Yeah, to get wrapped up, and that's something I think women tend to get wrapped up more so than men. Is that craving for shopping? That new fix of what can I buy next, or and this is something I've found myself, like those Amazon packages, man. Amazon creates this, like something's being delivered. It could be anything, but as long as you're getting a package in, you get that juiced up feeling.
Yep.
So,
and somebody's paid a lot of money to bring that out of people.
oh yeah, they're invested in that lovely feeling that you get with those nice. They're no longer brown packages now. They're kind of wrapped in this beautiful blue and a new tasty.
I don't get those blue packages. I don't know what you're talking about.
I get them for work. I get them for work for this, for that. But well, I guess that brings us to the next point is we've been talking about how screwed up the world is, right? Well, it's important to forgive the world, for they know not what they do. Mm-hmm. This is probably one of the best verses out of the Bible. And take your book of choice, whatever it happens to be for you. But a good phrase is a good phrase, and this one that you should absolutely see that everyone's sort of wrapped up in their behavior, not paying attention to things, and what we all need the most is a little bit of understanding.
Yeah, but and anybody saw the madness, they wouldn't really continue with it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know many times in my life when either I would say, "Man, who am I?" or I would just laugh out loud. Really.
Yeah. I mean, these things that we see, the crazy things that we see, you know, and everything from like all these mass shootings and so on. These are reactions to something else that's going on. That isn't the preliminary problem, right? That's the reaction to the problem. That's where that's the outlet for it, and of course it just creates more problems, obviously. But it's important to remember that, you know, even in your own life, when where you are acting up, where you're hitting this breaking point, we want to start understanding that we need to be more. Not just forgiving of other people, but understand, you know, you have just as much screwed up stuff inside of you as a lot of other people do in this world. And even if someone happens to be more screwed up than you still need to understand your connection to them and their problems. Because if everyone starts to understand, like, dude, you know what? I've been there. I've had some days. I've gone through some craziness in my life. That helps out a lot when people walk around like, you know what? I'm not so isolated. I'm not going through this all alone.
It's when you feel alone that you become the most desperate, and that's when you do the stupidest shit. And that comes to forgiving yourself. Yeah. And that's really important because you're forgiving yourself for the thoughts that are actually happening in your mind, because a lot of the thoughts that happen in our minds are actually happening without us. So that's good.
Well, I was just saying, there was this video. I should get the name. I'm sorry, guys. I love your channel, Kurtzkagot. It's this awesome educational channel. They do these really cool animations. But anyways, there was an episode that they were talking about the study of rats. And warriors, or not warriors, but soldiers that were coming back from the Vietnam War, and their drug addictions. And it was talking about how people who are addicted, the addiction isn't the opposite of, you know, feeling loved or something akin to that. The problem that these people were having is that they didn't feel connected, and that when people start to feel connected to the world around them, that is a greater solvent for the addiction than anything else.
Yeah, and if you feel connected to somebody, you know, you'll have your issues with them, but you're definitely less likely to want to hurt that person.
Exactly.
You know, and that comes from within. And the less that you want to hurt yourself, the less likely that you're going to hurt other people.
Exactly.
And that's why compassion within is actually foremost, and it's actually the most important thing, because that's one of the largest lessons I have ever learned in spirituality or philosophy, is to forgive yourself first, because then you're able to offer that to the world. So forgiving the world and forgiving ourselves the most. That's the most important thing.
I agree. Well, this has been an awesome first live broadcast. Well, not live broadcast, but first video podcast that we've done. It's been awesome. I don't know. I feel a pulse. But yeah, no, thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate it. Make sure to check us out on YouTube, of course. You're probably watching on here, but YouTube, Instagram, iTunes, Facebook, and Podbean, and SoundCloud. And remember to
like and subscribe. Please share and please comment.
Yes.
We really want to hear back from you. And if there are any ideas of the kind of podcast that you'd like to see us do, or you'd like to be part of a podcast, let us know. We might be able to make that happen for you.
We'd love to have you on and to talk about some stuff. So.
Yeah. So
thanks for watching. Yeah. Here was this fist bump.
Does that taste good? Sure looks good.
Where's the fucking audio coming from? Mecca!
God damn it!
Who's that one guy on NBC? That sound!
I'm on TV, dog.
One more time.
I'm on TV, dog.